Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
Nothing was ever as hard as having 3 kids under 4.
What fresh hell.
Laughing in the Face of Motherhood.
I don't care about that. Like, people told me to listen to Car Talk and I did.
With Margaret Abels
and Amy Wilson.
I really thought having a baby was like getting a lump of clay.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas
so you don't have to.
Kennedy Center Awards. That level of excitement for me to be able to attend Pancakes for Dinner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy. And today we record our 400th episode. I mean, we have like almost 900 episodes, but this is our 400th You and Me Talking About a Topic episode.
It's crazy. How many years?
This is our 9th year of podcasting together, during which we'll have done 400 of You and Me. Another like 250 talking to an expert or a guest, and then like another 150 on top of that of just you or me answering a question, the Ask Amy, Ask Margarets, which the old timers will remember.
Yes.
They're still there for your listening pleasure, but we've paused doing those for now.
So we're going to spend today looking back and looking forward, Amy.
Okay.
When we started the podcast 9 years ago, I think I still had a kid in diapers at that time. I think I had like a 2.
Your youngest was 3? I think they were like 3 to 13 or 4 to 14.
Yeah, 3 to 13. So maybe just out of diapers, but a true toddler. Pull-ups at night. And yeah, my kids would have been 3, 5, and 6, maybe 5 and 7. I mean, a completely different era. And it is funny to look back. One of the things as I was preparing for this and looking back is that I think my overall take is that you move in parenthood from like the minutia of day to day, like the problems of little kids. And I mean, I'm not the first person to have said this, are very immediate. They're like, how do I get them to eat? How do I get them to not, run into the street? How do I fly on a plane with them? It's solving very tactical and immediate problems all the time, all day, every day.
Mm-hmm. Triage. It's a triage unit.
Right. That everything is sort of mysterious. I don't know the answer to that. I think that's why there are so many parenting books, that it's so much chaos that you're like, someone tell me how to make them eat the right kind of food. Like, someone tell me what are the right kinds of food, and then someone tell me how to get them to eat those kinds of food, and then someone tell me how I can go to the mall with 3 kids under 4 and come home with all of those children. And then as they age, it's like your lens kind of pulls back. And my kids now, a lot of those things that I worried about, their eating is pretty much fine. I'm going to say it was this year that we had a dinner, and I remember turning to my husband. We maybe stopped somewhere and grabbed a meal at a restaurant or whatever we were doing. And I thought, I didn't even think about this. I didn't look at the menu beforehand to make sure that there was something that everybody could eat. I didn't think about like, okay, you need to sit next to him because he's out of control. And then I'll sit next between these two because they fight. Like, we just walked in, we sat down, we ate a meal, and we left. And so the immediate problems, I think, dissipate and your lens comes way far out. And then the problems become more the problems of being alive, the kind of amorphous, bigger questions. What is life, Amy? What do we want it to be for our kids? How do we want them to be in the world? How much control do we have over how they turn out in the world? And that shifting of the lens over these 9 years has been super interesting.
A friend of mine is a theologian, Natalia Imperatori Lee. I quote her research and happy to help. And she's just a super smart, interesting woman. And she talked in her most recent book about the difference between problems and mysteries. And it was from a religious point of view, but still, like, problems are puzzles, but they are things that have solutions. Like, how am I going to fly with 3 kids under 5? Well, you're going to, right? There is a solution.
Right. It's a Rubik's Cube. There is a solution to it.
You have 2 hands and you've got the carrier. And then if you go to the restroom, you're just going to take all 3 of them into the stall with you. It's complicated.
Yeah. Or look for a helpful looking older woman who will hold the baby for you. Yes, it's solvable.
There are solvable. And then a mystery, for her example, would be like, if you were, a Catholic, it's like, how can God be a deity and human at the same time? It's a mystery. It's unsolvable. You can think about it for the rest of your life and you'll never come up with an answer. And it occurs to me that this is what you're saying. Like, little kids are problems that are solvable if complicated. But then, as kids get older, and of course, little kids have mysteries too, but big kids, it tends to be more mysteries. How do I give them the right amount of support as they leave the nest? How do I teach them that they can take on the hard things in life themselves while also being the askable parent or whatever? These things become less solvable and more questions we engage with continuously.
Yeah, that's a really good metaphor for exactly what I'm talking about. The move from problems to mysteries.
Yes.
And thematically, I think that so much of what we talk about is locus of control. That's the other thing. As I was looking through things, I was like, oh, we want to make sure that things turn out okay. And we want to make sure that everything goes okay. And I talked about this with the therapist, and she talks sometimes about the castle walls. That's what's happening inside your house, inside the castle walls. So like, that's one locus of control. Then outside the castle walls, and now in the huge world that we have so little control over. And that I think so much of the work, I think I would say especially of motherhood, because I don't think that my spouse, my husband, is as burdened by this as I find myself, is the trouble with the locus of control. Like, that realistically we all are heading for the mystery, and we're not going to have a tremendous amount of control, and life has many variables that we're not going to see coming. And that's right. When you have a 2-year-old who lives under your roof and you literally carry 40% of the day and you control everything that you feed them, the hardness is the all the timeness, but the easiness is tremendous control.
Mm-hmm. I felt that way about breastfeeding, which was something that I was so apprehensive about ahead of time. I was just sure that it was going to be the hardest thing or the thing I hated the most. And luckily for me, it ended up being an afterthought and something that was so easy. It was the easiest thing about motherhood, that if my kids were crying, if they were hungry, if they were tired, if they had a boo-boo, that I had the magical fix at all times was me. It was the easiest thing and ended up being a problem with the solution, and the mystery of how can I give my kids everything that they need without giving them too much. That wasn't part of it in the end.
Right. And I have talked a lot about this with my mom has since died, but like before she passed away, and women of her generation, that they reflect to me often, and we have long generations in my family. So these are really older women. Sometimes you say generation and like the grandma's my age. I'm talking about older women from the 50s, basically. And talking about how they are sort of stunned and envious that women have such a wider range of options, but that's hard too, that having a wider range of options, that I think back in the day, women went to high school, maybe met someone, got married, maybe went to college, maybe not. Their job opportunities were basically nurse, teacher, or secretary. And even secretary, like you didn't do it once you were married generally, or you maybe came back to it, but it wasn't like you had kids at home and you were somebody's secretary.
My mom had a retirement party as soon as she was showing with me because you couldn't work. You couldn't work visibly pregnant, and you certainly weren't coming back. It was a retirement party. It wasn't a good luck with the baby party.
No, it was a goodbye. We don't want you here anymore party. And our parents are from more of that kind of Mad Men era of women had a very specific place and a very specific role. And my mom ended up working into her 30s and was really bucking the trends of expectations in a lot of ways. Her sister was a lawyer and like at a big law firm. But even then it was sort of like marriage is the end of this. It was so understood, I think, for both of them, that marriage meant that they were going to stop doing that and go home and be with kids.
And as far as the work at home, I wrote about this in Happy to Help, like all the Erma Bombeck and the I Hate to Cook book and the stuff that my mom was reading in the 70s and 80s definitely came from the point of view of, yeah, this is yours to do. Because husbands be husbands, right? And everybody's married to a man, of course, in the writing at the time, and everybody was married. But there wasn't anything you could do about it. It was just the way things were. So you might as well develop a sense of humor and roll your eyes while you do all the laundry because you're going to be doing all the laundry. It just was the way things were. And you could have a sense of humor about it, but you couldn't ask for change. Not really.
And I think that is a double-edged sword in its own way. Like, I am certainly not here to speak about let's go back to the way great things were when women had very few choices. That's not interesting to me. But I do think that the idea that your path was sort of set for you, it was less anxiety producing, I think. You would marry a boy from town and you would have kids and he would buy a house for you and put 2 cars in the garage if things went really, really well. And you would take a week vacation twice a year and all your family would live, within 10 miles from you. That the amount of choices that you had to make were diminished. And there was again, you felt more control in that situation, I guess. I mean, it's funny. It's like less control and more control, but you didn't have to be like, what's going to be my side hustle? You just kind of did the laundry and maybe were in stable, quiet misery the whole time, but you definitely had fewer choices.
Yeah. And you had fewer things to worry about because there were fewer options. I mean, maybe your kid was dyslexic, but it wasn't like you were going to know about it or there was anything the school was going to do about it. So you didn't worry about it. Or maybe you did worry about it. Like, this kid seems to be struggling, but there were no words for it. There were no classes to take. There were no things to educate yourself about. So your stable misery was a lot more cut and dried.
Yeah, it's deep. It's Plato's cave. Like, if you elementary philosophy, Plato, it's people who live in a cave and they see like shadow stories. And then someone gets out of the cave and they're like, no, these are just shadow stories. There's a real world up above us.
Oh,
that's like the fundamental. I mean, I'm sure that any philosopher listening is like, this idiot does not know what Plato's cave is. But
that is not Heidegger's principle of uncertainty.
I mean, whatever. Look it up. It's on Wikipedia, I'm sure.
Plato's cave. Okay.
But I think that the idea that like just sitting in the dark and watching shadow puppets play out there's a comfort in that. There's a sameness to it. There's a known quality that for someone to come along and say, actually, there's a real world outside of the cave. The person who comes back and tells them that is of course like rejected. And it's like, we don't want to talk to you anymore. We like the stability of the cave. And I think that there's something real about that.
Let's take a break. When we come back, I have a thought about the title of our podcast and what it's shown me over the last many years. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that: taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. And it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. So the subtitle of our podcast, right, is called Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. Hilarious. You came up with that the first time we ever met to even talk about this. I'm like, okay, like no notes, 10-10, let's go. And
you're like, you know, the New Yorker cartoon, I have it on my desk, and it's 2 pieces of pasta. It's like a penne, you know, a little tubular pasta. And he's like snapping his fingers, and I'm doing the gesture, which is not great for podcasting, but
finger guns,
finger gunning to the other piece of pasta, who's a fusilli. And he says, "Fusilli, you crazy bastard, I'm in." And it's like, that was kind of how the podcast came to be.
Right. It was a very...
I basically came and I was like, podcast. And you were like, "Fusilli, you crazy bastard, I'm in."
We tend to, despite our very opposite approaches, fervently agree on most things. And so that was certainly it.
That's true.
Along the way, once in a while, somebody will push back on like, why isn't it parenthood? Why isn't it, you know, is this a podcast for parents? Can dads listen to this podcast? Like, yes. We're all welcome. I have in the past sort of engaged with, well, yeah, like this is for parents. And look, I think if you're an interested parent, you're going to listen to this podcast. But I still think, as you were saying before, it is still, despite how much things have changed and are changing, it is the mom that is more likely to engage with the larger questions of parenting and the larger concerns about her children's lives. I think that is an exercise that women are still more likely to undertake. And so that this was and still is a podcast that's for mothers in particular.
And fundamentally, although I think we made a really conscious choice in the beginning not to dig into our own lives. Like, I mean, people kind of know that we have spouses. They know that we have kids. They don't,
They don't know where they go to school or, right.
We don't talk specifically about like this week, my kid, this. It's kind of a 30,000 foot view. And I think one of the things that makes podcasting work is that it is very personal. We can only speak from our own experiences. And our experience is motherhood. That is a unique experience. And I remember Roxane Gay said this at some point, and it kind of jumped out to me because we've been having this conversation with the audience to some degree, that as I speak on my own experience, if you don't hear yourself represented in that experience, it's not because I'm denying your existence. It's because I'm speaking about my own experience. And I think the usefulness of that is that there is universality in motherhood, that lots of these experiences are wide and that you hit a lot of people. But even in having conversations with people, I mean, I have a kid on the spectrum who does not respond to certain approaches that might work really well for other people. And so for me to listen to stuff and say, my experience is outside of that, like I should add my voice to that conversation. But I mean, first of all, there's an expression, if you've met one kid with autism, you've met one kid with autism. Like even autism is not a universal experience. There are a huge range of people on the autism spectrum and what any one of those children need. Like I can't speak to anybody else's experience, but I think with the Fresh Takes, we've made an effort to find other voices. I mean, both of us are white Irish Catholic women who grew up on the Northeast corridor of the United States. And so, of course, our experiences are not going to be completely universal. But we've talked now on the Fresh Takes to a huge range of people, including men, including dads. And I've never come away from any of those conversations thinking, I got nothing from that. I have nothing in common with that person. That person didn't speak to my experience at all.
For sure. And yet I still feel like it's okay for us to say, like, yeah, this is a podcast for mothers who are engaged with the questions of our lives, for women who are engaged with the questions of women's lives, because unfortunately, I think those aren't considered as interesting or worthwhile topics of conversation unless you're female or unless you're a mom. And that's okay. So therefore, we're creating a place to talk about these things. And if you're interested in these things, come on in. But for us to do a podcast for everybody, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm saying we are doing a podcast for everybody, but I'm okay that we're looking at things through a particular lens because I think that lens is valuable and deserves to be there.
Yeah, and I definitely think it's not a podcast for everybody. I have a good friend, and I was talking to her husband, and they don't have children, and he works in businessy, he's a businessman guy, and he said, I love podcasts. What's your podcast about? I listen to every podcast. And I said, it's Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. He's like, wow, not interesting to me at all. Won't be listening to that podcast. And I'm like, fair to you. Like, he doesn't have kids. And I mean, I think he's right.
Yeah, I guess. But like everybody listened to Car Talk, right? Car Talk was genius because it was two men talking about automotive repair and they were really funny. So I would never be like, I don't care about that. Like people told me to listen to Car Talk and I did. I feel like it's uniquely women's issues and women's things. It's like, well, I'm not a lady, so no thanks. I feel like when somebody comes to me who's not a parent and they want to know about our podcast, I mean, I will say, like, you might want to listen to this episode or that episode. I'll send them to a particular episode, or, some of our favorite episodes are the like really stupid things you should know about right now kind of episodes that are super fun and funny. I might send them to those instead. But But I guess that's why, that's why this podcast needs to exist, because everybody outside it is like, well, that sounds boring and unimportant.
That's not for me.
Yeah. But this is for me.
I think that the part of it which takes motherhood seriously, despite the fact that it's a comedy podcast, has been really valuable to me personally. And I think about the kin keeping episode that we did this year. And
yeah. Say a little bit more about kin keeping, because in case you didn't listen to that one, you're like, what did she just say?
Kin keeping, we did an episode about this idea that many women have the role of like the keepers of the family culture, basically. And an example of it is Christmas time, right? That like you're the one who sets up the train, and you know that like this is, you have the same things, and every birthday you get woken up with the birthday song or whatever, like the family culture, and minding that and keeping that, and to some degree keeping the relationships. So,
right.
Did you hear grandma's not doing well? Well, let me put the word out to people, and
making sure the cousins know each other as they grow up is kin keeping. Yeah.
Let's have a week where we do, I mean, both of us have this in our large Irish Catholic families. We have a party that's called Keep the Cousins Close. That's the name of the party. And that work is extraordinarily valuable. It is top drawer valuable. It is, in fact, the work of our lives to some degree, is making, that is the life that people remember. That is the moments. And we've talked about this. One of my favorite examples, and someone was just talking about it on our Facebook group. If you're not in our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/WhatFreshHellCast, or just search What Fresh Hell Podcast Group and you'll find it. Someone was just talking about plate of little things. And it was this really great conversation that we had about how the failure of this mom, and the kids just ended up sitting in front of the TV, and all I did was make this like plate of little things, like a carrot and a Ritz cracker with a pepperoni on it, and just this little plate because I was too tired to make dinner. And that people in the group reflected back, that's going to be such a memory for your kids.
Right. Plate of little things is your favorite dinner if you're that kid.
Like you get to watch TV. And I talked about at some point that we used to have pancakes for dinner probably once a month, maybe. And I remember thinking, like, to me as a kid, that story was, my mom is so cool and so rebellious. I mean, maybe this is not interesting anymore, but I feel like in the 70s, like having pancakes for dinner was crazy.
Oh, it only happened at one kid's house. And if I got to stay there for dinner, it was, like Kennedy Center Awards, that level of excitement for me to be able to attend pancakes for dinner.
The idea that you're just sitting there eating pancakes at dinner time, it was right. The best. Like, what did I do in a past life to have been born into this magical family?
This wacky wonder. It's dinner time. It's dark outside and we're having pancakes.
Are you people nuts? We can't do this. The authorities will surely come and arrest us. And that it wasn't until I truly had kids of my own that I realized that my mom made pancakes for dinner because she was tired and she didn't have a good idea for dinner.
She didn't get to the store.
And she didn't have anything in the refrigerator. She didn't want to go to the store. And that the resourcefulness of that, and that she might have left those experiences feeling disappointed in herself. And I think that it is so useful for women to have these conversations publicly and be talking to each other and supporting each other and saying, you're not a bad parent. You're a good parent. Like, you're already doing it. The thing that you are so worried about doing, there's a quote that I've heard said often at memorial services or funerals, like, we're all just walking each other home. That's the quote. And it's like I
think it's Ram Dass. Isn't that who says it?
Ram Dass. That's who it is. It's from Ram Dass. And it's like how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. Like, this is the true work of life, whether you're doing it and then going to an outside job or whether you're not. The vital importance and respect for the work of motherhood, I'm a cheerleader for.
That's right. I really loved what you said about being of top drawer importance. And I think the rest of the world can sort of poo-poo it and figure it can't be that important if we're in charge of it and it's happening magically in the background. It certainly can't be hard or complicated. And if we say so, we're just complaining. I think it's of utmost importance. And even as our kids have gotten older, and people sometimes ask me like, oh, parenting, like, how do you still like have stuff to say? And, it is true sometimes when somebody asks for a very specific potty training tip, I really have to cast my mind back at this point. Right. Like, well, what did I do?
Don't remember. They all figured it out eventually.
Right. And that is the truth. But for me to be like, I don't know, but they all figured it out somehow. Like, what do you don't need to come to my podcast for that. But we have created a group in this Facebook group of more than 7,000 parents who really can help one another with those things. And the problems that are being talked about in that group really run the gamut from the problems to the mysteries, right? There's some easy to solve stuff in there. There's some, let me just get this off my chest. And then there's some really heavy stuff. And it's just a bunch of parents, mostly mothers, walking each other home and creating that and witnessing it and furthering that conversation in the ways that we do. It is so gratifying. I can't believe that we get to do it.
Yeah. And we're all like in this season of life, we're all just walking each other to getting the kids out of the house. I mean, it is. And then a new day begins to some degree, although obviously the job goes on forever. There's no end point. But talking to my mom about this, I think she felt very isolated as a mom, but she had cousins and aunts and family around. So I think physically and day to day, she wasn't as isolated as I actually am. But I am less isolated in that I think that the public conversation around motherhood has become, it's a fresh hell versus it's your duty and your calling and every moment must be a miracle. So it's it's still a little bit of a flip side because on the other side of that, it does feel with social media and things online that you can feel like everyone is on a farm in a beautiful apron with 9 kids braising beef and like raising ducks. And I'm somehow not able to get my 2 kids into the minivan without crying.
Yes. And also, I think the idea that you can never say no to your children or you can never yell at your children. While these were things I tried to raise my children with as much love and gentleness as I could muster every moment of the day, but I didn't hold myself to that standard. And that's now kind of a very popular standard. And I think it is in some ways getting even harder to the standards.
Agree. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
Looking for a protein shake that tastes as good as it performs? Meet Rockin' Protein Max. Packed with 50 grams of fuel, it'll help you keep up when your day won't slow down. And because it's always creamy and never chalky, every sip tastes great. Even better, it's lactose-free and has 0 added sugar. It's not every day you find a protein shake you actually want to finish. Catch Rockin' Protein in the dairy cooler at a store near you. Rockin' Protein and Shamrock Farms are registered trademarks of Shamrock Foods Company.
And now, let's take the other side of that advice.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast.
I promise you, Mama, someday you'll long for those sticky little handprints on your wall.
So maybe, but on the upside, in exchange for sticky handprints, you'll have a kid who knows how to vomit into the toilet every time. And that will take the edge off the sticky handprint longing, I promise.
Bigger kids, bigger problems.
Bigger kids, less having to do advanced contortionism to get the youngest into his car seat in the way back, so it kind of evens out.
Let them be little. They're only young once.
Let them learn how to turn on the iPad and pour a bowl of cereal themselves so you can start sleeping in on Saturdays and enjoy them being young on just a little more sleep.
You'll never have this day again. Tomorrow they'll be a little bit older than they were today.
Tomorrow they'll be that much closer to being able to wipe their butts by themselves. Embrace it, folks.
Sunrise, sunset, quickly fly the years.
And that means that no matter how big a crap fest today was, it won't be long before you can leave them home alone and run to the grocery store without dragging 3 kids with you. Let's focus on the positive, people.
This has been Let's Take the Other Side of That Advice
from the What Fresh Hell podcast.
So now we're looking forward. And I mean, it's interesting. I still have a middle schooler, so I still have the youngest of the crew. They didn't switch ages as we went along, oddly. I am team, and I really am. I'm such team, it gets better. I just can't identify with people who are like bigger kids, bigger problems. It only gets harder. Oh, you should see them now. I mean, certainly a child driving a car is different stakes than a 2-year-old throwing a truck, I guess. And a human going out into the world to meet their spouse is certainly higher stake. I get the idea behind it, but for me, I find I just cannot relate to the idea that it gets harder. For me, nothing was ever as hard as having 3 kids under 4.
And for me, it's the thing that it gets easier and it also stays fun. That's always the thing that I feel like I have to push back on, that it isn't like you only have 18 summers. They're only little once. You're going to beat yourself up when you didn't make every moment a magical festival of lights, because then they're going to turn 18 and you'll never speak to them again. And that's very much not the experience that I'm living on the other side of that. Having kids who are out of the house and then come back that you engage with as young adults, it's different. It's also awesome. I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying it's also really fun. And I loved when my kids were little, and I love it now. And I definitely bought into a little bit of this, like, hurry up and like it more, because once they're 10, it gets all really boring all of a sudden.
No, lies.
Lies. It's all lies. And
I also think the only thing you're going to beat yourself up for is beating yourself up. Having come through the holidays, I was very aware of the fact that based on my co-host's influence, keep a spreadsheet and who's getting what, and we'll keep it even and everybody will get this. And is this person's big present worth 3 of this person's little present, or is it better to have the equal pile? Just doing a lot of that, which is, I'm not knocking it. Like it does matter. Like the kids will come in and be like, how come they got more? I was never loved correctly. I didn't have the right pile. I get it. It's real. But I do, when I'm deep in that process, I always have a moment of trying to remember what we did last year. Who got more or less? Who this, who that? Absolutely impossible to remember. Absolutely impossible to remember. And I will say there's someone, I'm not even going to speak about it because I don't want to put anybody on blast from the group, but somebody dealing with a difficult situation with a child who made a stupid mistake. And, they're feeling like, oh my gosh, the eyes of the town are upon us. And, a kid made a pretty bad choice. And it is encouraging to see how many people are like, this isn't even that big a deal. It's okay. This is a learning. One of my kids, as a young person, made a mistake at school, involved a call from the principal. It was, I would say bad mistake.
Best day of your life? Not really.
It was a bad choice. And it was embarrassing. And it was like, I definitely got a little bit of a vibe of like, how are you involved in them making this bad choice? And, I live in a small town and I was like, I don't want this bad choice, reflected on social media or other places. And I think it was an innocent bad choice. I think it was a playful bad choice, but it ended up not being great. And at the time, it just felt like the white hot spotlights were on me and on this child as like, who could do such a thing? And I do look back at it now, and we've talked about it many times. So we bring it up at the kitchen table. What was the dumbest thing you've done? Oh, we know what yours is, and it was, and now we're laughing about it and we have perspective on it. But I wish, the only thing that I look back and I wish I could take out of almost every scenario, I never look back and think, I wish I'd tried harder. I never look back and think, I wish I'd read another book. I wish I had given myself a little bit more grace and my kids a little bit more grace in terms of like, it's not about being perfect. It actually doesn't matter what other people think. I mean, it's a very Real Housewives thing. I don't care what anyone thinks of me. Everyone cares deeply what other people think of them. We're social animals. It makes sense. And as your kids get older and more independent, I think that having practiced the feeling of, I am not living for the eyes of other people. I am not going to make my kids go on a college journey that is acceptable to people in my family or my town. I am going to have a kid who makes mistakes because that's how kids learn. It's the most challenging for me personally, and I think it is really challenging. And I think that one of the things I love about the What Fresh Hell community on Facebook is that people always come in with, it's okay. We're going to figure it out. It's not your fault. You don't have to feel bad about this. And it is a dialogue in a society where people really do love to like look at this celebrity and what stupid stuff they're doing, and look at these housewives and how dumb they are and how awful they are. And I think that disassociating from that, however you can, is so useful.
Kristen Neff is a psychologist who I definitely want to have on the show this year. So I'm putting that out in the universe. We're going to track her down. I was just listening to her on an episode of the Authentic Parenting podcast this morning. I'll put the link in the show notes. Her thing is self-compassion, which is at once so simple and so like, oh my gosh, like this was a huge idea to me, that both of us to each other, everybody in our Facebook group, everybody listening, we can offer that great compassion to one another. You are doing your best. You are doing your best to our kids when they mess up. Mistakes are how you grow. Failure is how you learn. You're going to get resilience. It's going to be okay. We are very, very good at giving that to other people. And we are often really bad at giving it to ourselves. That mistakes are how I grow and failures are how I learn, and getting through tough times is how I'm learning resilience right now, and it's going to be okay. And we are really bad at offering ourselves that same gift, which is why we need friends and funny podcasts. But you know, that is the goal. And I thought, right, I think I'm kind of missing that part. Like I've heard so many times over the years, stop being so hard on yourself. I'm like, stop beating yourself up. I'm like, I'm not beating myself up, but I am also maybe not offering myself these same gifts that I give so freely to other people.
Yeah, that's well said. And I think as I was thinking about looking back and looking forward, that for me, the greatest lesson of the podcast is your piece of paper that goes between two things. And
mine too.
We have so many conversations with people, and this commonality of, is my marriage working? Are my kids happy? Am I on the path to my goals? Should I or shouldn't I go back to work? That the step that is most important and that we often skip is, let me sit down and really write down or think through or discuss with my spouse or my child our values, our goals, our wants. And so that, because life will carry us along, life is busy. And John Lennon, life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. Like, are we taking time? And my husband and I have fallen out of this, and we're going to try to be like New Year's people about it. Are we sitting down and saying, is this kid still even enjoying this sport that they're doing? Do they want to be doing it? I think I'm hearing they don't, but should they stick with it because it's worth something else? Like, being an active participant and a decision maker in your life, I think it also works against that feeling of, I'm a failure. Like, being in control of what you can control it is an antidote to that kind of bad feeling. Like, well, we made some choices and here we are, versus I'm just afraid of stuff happening to me, which is a mode that I think I get stuck on. And for me, what I've learned is it's getting ahead of it and saying, what do I want? What am I trying to do? What's yes and no in the marriage? What's yes and no in my parenting? And is it because I'm just trying to keep up with the neighbors more than I'm doing what's right for my kid? Or is it that I'm trying to live the bachelor hot tub version of life as opposed to interacting with my actual spouse? Like, taking that time and making active decisions, that to me is how I want to define my future.
So that you can there's really active and intentional in the macro sense. And the piece of paper thing can also be quite micro. Yes, you're right. Like, be intentional and spend time on these things. And then for me, like, that piece of paper, it's just that moment that you put between yourself and your reaction. It's how you notice yourself noticing, that like, wow, I'm getting really agitated. My kid is dysregulated and taking it out on me, and like, wow, here I go. I can feel my heart rate increasing right now. I can feel myself wanting to yell right now. That split second, I can feel this happening in me. Why am I feeling this way? Or like, oh, here goes, my sister-in-law sending a passive aggressive text and it's sending me into like level 25 rage. Wow. I'm really mad right now. Just that moment keeps you from screaming at your kids a little bit less, or yelling at your husband or whatever.
Yeah, because I think it is like, if you can use that piece of paper to say, what do I want to get out of this interaction? And you can't do this all the time, but it's just a little moment. You take the pause, you feel the feeling, and then there's like an intentionality. Like, do I want to take this moment to tell this person off, or do I want to get to the goal? And either one might be right in any given situation. But I think that motherhood can feel so often like stuff that is just happening to us. I mean, I said on an early version of the podcast, I really thought having a baby was like getting a lump of clay to mold. It's like, no, you just get handed a full human being, and
sent to teach you things.
Yeah, I guess. Thanks. I'm all set. I feel like I've learned a lot.
That's what the Talmud says. At least I was told that. I'm not Jewish, but that the Talmud says that our children are our teachers and that they're divinely sent to teach us the lessons we most need to learn.
I mean, it makes sense. It really does make sense. I get it, Talmud.
Proves to be true, right?
But I think that, just finding that locus of control, I guess, for me, comes in putting the piece of paper, giving the moment to react and realize what that moment is, because I tend to be very reactive and I can get very into like back and forths, and just saying, and then revisiting out loud and very purposefully, what do I want? Are things going the way I want? Is this how I want it to go? If not, is it because of my actions? Is there a variable? Is there a constant? Like, really just breaking things down and having the respect for myself and my job as mother to take it that seriously.
Mm-hmm. Right. This is worthy of consideration and exploration and humor and community. And
worthy of 400 podcast episodes to talk about it.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. It's still worth it.
So a huge thank you to everybody who's been listening to us for 400 episodes, 4 episodes, whatever the case may be. First episode ever. We love you too, friend.
Yeah, welcome. Come on in.
Yeah, you can always go explore the back archives. All of our episodes from day one are available on your app. Just go back and listen. You can search by topic.
If you go to whatfreshhellpodcast.com, you don't have to listen there. But if you want to look up a particular topic, we have a little search button magnifying glass in the top right corner of whatfreshhellpodcast.com, and you can find just the topics about teenagers or whatever you might want to look for.
Go search it up. It's all there. All those episodes, all that content. And with that, thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
So long.